If you want to have a great Mother's Day, set your expectations low. Hello, my name is Janae Daniels. I am a wife, a mother of 6, and a former middle school teacher turned homeschool mom. Welcome to the School to Homeschool podcast. I recently came upon a YouTube video where a homeschooling mom coach type person was saying, all these people say to homeschooling moms and these other homeschooling coaches say, oh, you're doing a great job, don't change a thing. She's like, well, frankly, you could do better. And we're lying to ourselves if we don't think we can do better. Which I've watched a few of this YouTuber's videos, and I will not say who they are. But I've been really annoyed. I was really annoyed by that because what I see are a whole lot of moms doing, and grandmas and some dads doing the best that they can, legitimately doing the best that they can. And so I was really put off by that because I see people's struggles. I hear about people's struggles. And what I've noticed is people need grace. And yes, do we know when we can do better? Yeah, we know when we can do better. But I also see far too many moms not give themselves grace, that they're always beating themselves up. And that's been on my mind. Today is Mother's Day. And I think for a lot of moms, it is a hard day because you see stories and hear stories about perfect mothers who do all the things. And we look at ourselves and we fall short. We fall short. When I was a young mom, I remember looking at the capable moms who were doing so much stuff. And I felt totally inadequate, which is funny because now I'm that mom who's doing a lot of stuff. And even last night, I was doing the costumes for my daughter's enrichment program. And another mom had made a comment like, you do it all, you can do it all. And I said, well, I'm in a season of life where I'm more capable of doing more than I used to be. I remember back in college trying to do an event for something and totally bombed. Like it was terrible. And that happened many, many times. And then as a young mom trying to just take a shower, it was all I could do to just get myself dressed and make sure everybody brushed their teeth and put on clean underwear. Like that was all I could do. And I remember beating myself up again and again and again. Today I'm really tired, y'all. I have to be honest. My body is not what it used to be. And I got home super late after the show. It closed last night and my body was beat up. And I thought about the mom who said that, like, oh, you can do all these things. And I'm like, I'm in a different season in life. And we can't compare ourselves. And I think we do that all too often. I've said it before, but comparison robs us of joy. It steals our joy. Because I found that when I compare myself, I compare my worst to somebody else's best. And that's not a fair comparison. And I don't know what season of life that they're in. They could be, in a season of peace in their life. And so they're able to get more done versus the times that we are barely hanging on by a thread. And our capability is far less. Right now, I'm in a season of peace where my kids are mostly doing really good. There's no major, huge things. I've had times in my life when there were major, huge things. And those days, it was hard to get out of bed. And so on this Mother's Day today, I want you moms to know that you are legitimately doing better than you think you are, despite what Miss Naysayer YouTube homeschooling mom says about, well, you could always do better. Yeah, maybe you could. But I think we are far too hard on ourselves already as women. I look at you moms that are working and trying to homeschool, or you're working and you want to homeschool and you're beating yourselves up because you feel like you should be with your kids more, but yet you're working and you have to support yourself and your family, or you have to help your spouse support the family. I look at the stay-at-home moms who are not working, who are beating themselves up because they're like, I should be helping contribute to the financial help with the family. And society looks and says, oh, you're just a stay-at-home mom. And even though people, like I've heard men kind of like not trying to be condescending, not trying to be patronizing, be like, well, motherhood is the most important profession that you can have. But yet, you know that behind it, they're like, but really, you're not educated, or but really, you're not XYZ. And so I see it on both sides, where the working moms feel like they're beaten around. The stay-at-home moms feel like they're beaten around. And y'all, we're all in the same club. We are. Because by our nature, we want what's best for our kids. And yet we always feel like we fall short. I'm here to tell you, you're enough. You are enough. And if you feel like you could do a little bit better, then do a little bit better. Don't try to beat yourself into being like, I'm going to be a million times better. No, if you feel like you need to be better, then do a little bit better. A little bit over a long time has a compounding effect. That's what I wanted to say for my podcast this week. I'm a day early in delivery as far as my normal Monday drops, but I wanted to tell you that I think you're doing pretty awesome, despite what the world tells us, despite that they are patronizing, despite when they tell us that we're not capable of teaching our own children who we potty trained ourselves. By the way, those are the same people who've never had to potty train a child. Just saying. I find a lot of men that are single with cats have a lot of very, very strong opinions about homeschooling. That's what I keep discovering. It's always the same ones too. My friends, go take care of your cats and get a life. Anyway, I want to share the story about Thomas Edison's mom. Now, this may very well be a fabricated story. The truth is, Thomas Edison did leave school when he was in elementary school, when he was young. His mom did pull him from school, and she became his biggest champion. And he essentially was kind of a little bit of an unschooler, because they would just go to the library and study the things that he liked to learn about. And that's when he started inventing. He started working in newspapers super young. For as much as people like or dislike Thomas Edison, I think it's irrelevant right now. But I want to share this story. This comes from Rabbi Ephraim Goldberg on the aish.com website. And so he tells this story. Again, I think it might be embellished a little bit. I was trying to find the source that it came from, but I think the sentiment holds true. The story is told that one day as a small child, Thomas Edison came home from school and gave a paper to his mother. He said, "Mom, my teacher gave this paper to me and told me only you are to read it. What does it say?" Her eyes welled with tears as she read the letter out loud to her child. "Your son is a genius. This school is too small for him and doesn't have enough good teachers to train him. Please teach him yourself." Many years after Edison's mother had died, he became one of the greatest inventors of the century. When he was going through a closet, he found the folded letter from his old teacher. He opened it and found that the true message written on the letter he opened it and found the true message written on the letter. "Your son is mentally deficient. We cannot let him attend our school anymore. He is expelled." Edison then wrote in his diary, Thomas A. Edison was a mentally deficient child whose mother turned him into the genius of the century. And he goes on to say, while the details of the story are not likely accurate, it is indeed documented that Edison was called addled by his teacher, who determined that he should no longer remain in school. His mother became his most enthusiastic champion, and only because of her encouragement, belief, and constant kind words did Thomas Edison become the great inventor. Now, I know some of you are already beating yourselves up and be like, oh, I just got mad at my kids like 10 minutes ago, and maybe I may have or may not have sworn, right? I don't want you to beat yourself up by hearing that story, but I do want to bring up that as homeschooling mothers, as well as mothers in general, if you're listening to this and you're not a homeschooling mother, it applies equally as much to you. That as mothers, we have and can have the most beautiful influence on our children, and we are going to make mistakes. And so the more that we can focus on those relationships, and helping our children realize their own potential, realize that they are smart and clever and good, the better. And yes, we can get better if we're bad at it. But I'm not here to tell you like, you need to do better. The end. I know you're not doing enough, because the reality is I have talked to so many of you. I have gotten messages from so many of you, and you legitimately are giving your heart and soul to your kids. And they may not appreciate it now. They may not appreciate it when they're 20. Usually by 23 or 24, they start to appreciate it, but then they go back, and by their 30s, then they're, on you all over again about how you were not a great mom. And then they get older. And I look at even myself as a 48-year-old, and I am so grateful for my mom. And I was so hard on her as a teenager, but she did her best. And I think that's what all of us have to do, is we just do our best. And we are totally going to fall short every single time. And we are going to make mistakes. And it's already all right. It's already all right. So if you're in that place with some of your kids where you're like, I don't know what else to do with them, I don't know if they're going to turn out, I don't like their choices. Mamas, you just keep doing your best. Because as one of my sisters says, I have lots of sisters, but one of my older sisters says, it's already all right. It'll all work out in the end. If it doesn't work out, it's not the end. And by the grace of God and with the help of our Savior, we will be okay. And our kids will be okay, because they were His long before they were ever ours. I hope you have a really good Mother's Day. I hope you do your best to enjoy the day. Now, it wasn't until a few years ago that I realized I could actually enjoy the day, because for a long time, I wrote this in the newsletter for those of you who get the newsletter. I used to have really high expectations for like my birthday and Mother's Day, which are actually very close. And my days would be miserable. Let's be completely honest. I mean, like there was one day that my husband went out and bought donuts, and I only really like one kind of donut, and my kids ate it. Like, they're like, oh, well, you can have this one. I'm like, why did you eat the one that Dad got for me? And they're like, well, because we decided we didn't want the other one. I'm like, because I came a little bit late to the table. I was so mad. I'm like, what the heck? Like, what the heck? And then there's been Mother's Days where like the kids will fight, which I did a YouTube short about this. And by the way, that was not staged. Like I was recording them. Like, I'm just going to show our reality today. I'll put a link to it so you can watch it. Like they were screaming in the back, and I'm like, happy Mother's Day, friends. All those beautiful Mother's Day commercials that make you cry, not because like, yes, it makes you want to call your mom, but then you're like, I suck as a mom, right? Pardon my language. But I just feel like my expectations for Mother's Day were so high, and my expectation of motherhood was so high. And the second that I really lowered the expectations, like really lowered them, I mean, we're talking as low as you can go with expectations. Like, if nobody remembers it's my birthday or nobody remembers it's Mother's Day, and then they start fighting, and then they start talking back, and then they bring up that I'm a terrible mom, like, I'll expect that. Let's just expect that that'll happen. So if anything beyond that happens, I'm going to be so pleasantly surprised. And I will love it. And sometimes I feel like, especially on Mother's Day, like we're given gifts by our children that we may not necessarily want. But it becomes about the kids, like, oh, okay, I have to show these kids that I appreciate and am grateful for it. Let me give you, for instance, I have my good friend Michelle, who one year, I saw her at church on Mother's Day, and she was full on, oh my gosh, it was so terrible. She was wearing, it was head to toe, sparkly sequins, long evening gown to church. And I'm like, Michelle, wow, that is a very sparkly dress. And she's like, just through gritted teeth, she's like, don't get me started. This is what Paul had the kids get me for Mother's Day. They picked it out and said, it's so beautiful. You should wear it, Mom. And then they all said, wear it to church. Wear it to church. Y'all, I could not stop laughing. It was so awful and terrible and hilarious. And she was just bright red all day. But she gave me a good laugh as a mom that day. Last Mother's Day. So y'all, I do not like, my last love language, dead last, is physical touch. Now, I do like getting hugs and I like being touched to a point. But then, like, once I hit my threshold, like, I'm done. I can't have anyone else touch me. Like, it just, like, I need my personal space. I'm a very introverted extrovert, right? So, last Mother's Day, four of my kids are like, we have a special surprise for you. And I'm like, okay, how about you give me that special surprise after my nap? Because I really, as my present, I really would love for you guys to let me have a nap without anyone playing the piano or the guitar or any drums or any other loud thing or screaming or yelling at each other or being too loud playing board games or fighting. I would like a nap with just quietness. And they're like, okay. So I go to lay down, and my youngest son, who's my second to the youngest child, comes in with a big bottle of lotion and a big smile. And he's like, I have a special surprise for you. And the rest of them come in too. They're like, we're each taking one of your hands or feet, and we're gonna give you a massage while you try to sleep. And I was like, what? How about I take a nap first, and then you give me a massage after the nap? And they're like, nope, we've been planning this. And I'm like, okay. And so my older two did a pretty good job because they're teenagers. And so they gave me a pretty good massage on my hands and my feet. But the younger two put way too much lotion on. So then I had to like get up and try to hop to get all of the lotion off because I was lathered in love and lotion. And just didn't get a nap, but I got some semblance of some lotion all over my hands and my feet. And I decided that I was like, no, okay, I'm not going to get mad about this, but I am going to accept it as it was given, which is sincerely from the heart, with all of the love in their little hearts, and they're, trying to give, right? Again, like I said, sometimes I feel like some of the gifts that we're given are more for the kids and for us to give back, which I guess is the whole point, right? Because as mothers, we are always giving everything everything. And so I decided that if I set my expectations low, that no matter what happens, I could choose gratitude. I could choose to be happy, and I could choose for it to be a really great day. Since I made that choice a few years ago, my Mother's Days have been really great. Even the times that I've had to do the dishes on Mother's Day because my in-laws came over and I do all of the cooking and all of the cleaning and all of that stuff, which now my older kids are like, Mom, we'll help you in the kitchen. And my husband's like, do you want me in the kitchen? I'm like, no, I want you entertaining. Now, I love my in-laws, don't get me wrong. But this is generally how Mother's Day goes for me, is I do cooking for extended family. And I've come to appreciate like having my hands in the warm water. I'll definitely have my hands in the warm water this Mother's Day because our dishwasher is once again broken. They've come 5 times to fix it, and it's once again leaking. And so I'm like, okay, I will enjoy having my hands in the water like my dad. My dad used to do the dishes when I was a kid. And I said, Dad, why do you like doing the dishes so much? And he goes, because I like to think as my hands are in the nice warm water. It gives me a chance to think, and it just soothes my brain. And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to have the attitude of my dad, and I'm going to have a good experience, even though the old me would be really angry and be like, what the heck? I shouldn't be the one doing dishes today, right? It's Mother's Day. Why am I the one cleaning up? But again, I told my husband, like, please, and you go entertain everybody and I'll just be in the kitchen with my headphones on, listening to something beautiful. So anyway, I hope that you set your expectations very low so that you can be so pleased and enjoy your Mother's Day. I hope that you don't beat yourself up too much. I hope that none of your children give you cruise line dresses to wear to church this Mother's Day. I hope that you get some peace. Most importantly, that I hope that you know that you are loved, you are seen, that despite how your kids may or may not turn out, that your efforts are not in vain. They're not in vain. They're not in vain. Your life matters. Anyway, I love you, my friends. You're doing better than you think you are. You got this. Happy Mother's Day. We'll talk next week.